Right on the upper mark, so that's fine. Just check there's no leaks around there either. Probably the chain now, mate.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, if you grab the bike for us.
No dramas.
Make it a bit easier. Just check your chain tension. Obviously that usually gets looser as you ride the bike further and further. This one's looking pretty good again. Again, look in your handbook to see what the adjustment should be. Bikes do vary quite a lot.
There is sort of a rule of thumb in there. It's like
Yeah,
it's around 25 mil movement, really.
Yeah, around about 25 to 30 mil.
Yeah.
The main thing is not to do it up too tight, really, because that can hurt some output shaft bearings. So just be careful there, and obviously make sure it's got plenty of lube on it. This one again is pretty good. If you see any rust appearing, obviously you've been a bit slack with your lube maintenance.
That's no bloody good, is it?
No.
I think pretty much the only things left really is to make sure that you have a good look at your tyres, make sure you've got plenty of tread. I think personally to have a look over your lights and stuff and just make sure everything works. You want to make sure you've got a brake light and your blinkers are working, especially. There's a lot of cars out there and these are difficult, so yeah, for me, quick check over the lights and tyres, job's done.
And the only other things really just where your levers are, your brake pedal and your gear levers settings and your brake levers. All these are easily adjustable now usually, just with a flick of a lever, so just make sure it's comfortable for you.
Yep, no worries. Right, Bruce, I've got a question for you. Shittiest job I've come across on a bike is trying to bleed the front brakes. Have you got a special secret or what?
Well, I got the way I do it. I've mucked around with it for years and had all the troubles you've had as well, mate, but nothing too techy really. I mean, all I use is really the old classic plastic bottle, clear tube, and the handy bit of wire to hang it on a handlebar so you don't drop it and muck around with it while you're trying to do the job.
Seems too easy.
Yeah, do you want me to make you one, mate?
Go on then.
Find yourself a bottle. An old brake fluid bottle makes a goodie. That's what we use. Pretty simple. You need a couple of holes in the top to suit the pipe you've got. Obviously this has got to be around about 5 mil diameter internally, so it fits on the bleed nipples on the bike tight. So put a couple of holes in the lid. Try not to drill a hole in your own finger. That's the jobby. So blow out the goobies. You want a reasonable length of pipe into the bottle, obviously, so when you put it on your brake calipers, the bottle can sit on the floor without falling over all the time. Basically you want that just a snug fit in there so it stays in. Because it's cold, this pipe's not so keen on the idea, but there you go. So just push that through the lid, and then basically put that in there like that. Basically now at least you've got something that will catch the fluid as you're bleeding it. You can see where the air's coming out with the fluid when you're bleeding them, so you know when to stop. And the other hole, when you finish bleeding them, you can stick the pipe back in there to stop all the fluid leaking out if it falls over. Get a bit of wire, thin wire, I've got some lock wire here, and just make up a little hanging hook for it. Because when you're bleeding the master cylinder on the handlebars, you need to be able to hang it somewhere so it's not falling over. So I just tie a little loop around here. Doesn't have to be anything too fancy. As long as you can hang it on the handlebars out the way somewhere. This is where you poke yourself in the finger with a bit of wire and bleed everywhere. Okay, and there you have it really. That's it. Factory brake bleeding kit. Simple as best.
Right, so we've got all this cloth around so we don't make a mess and dribble any fluid anyway.
Yep.
I've got the cap undone so it doesn't cause a vacuum. Show us what you do. How's this fantastic bottle work?
The idea basically is to push fluid through the system and out through the bleed nipple here, and hopefully with it removing all the air in your brake system so you leave it doesn't feel all spongy. It hangs on there, so that's what I made the wire for. Put your tube on top of the bleed nipple like so. And you've got to make sure the hose is a good fit on that. You don't want any fluid leaking all over your brakes again. And it wants to be a tight fit to stop any air getting in the system. Now, this is the important part really. First thing is always make sure that you've got plenty of fluid in this reservoir here, because obviously as you're bleeding the brakes, that'll go down because the fluid comes out the bottom. Now, it's really easy to forget about that and get carried away and keep bleeding until you've sucked the air in through the top, which defeats the purpose of the whole exercise really. So make sure you keep that topped up at all times. First thing, you want to loosen your bleed nipple off. Okay, that one wasn't too bad. Now just nip that up so it's closed. Now put a bit of weight on the lever, Dino, and then just crack the nipple open, and then Dean squeezes the lever in all the way. You'll see the fluid come out, a little bit of air there.
Yep.
Now this is the most important thing. Hold the lever right under the handlebars and close the nipple before you let the lever go. Okay, Dino, you can let that go now, mate. And it doesn't hurt, just give the lever a couple of little pumps now while the nipple's shut again. And then basically repeat that procedure again. Okay, Dino. Okay.
Yep.
Close the nipple. Now let the lever go again. Now, not much air came out that time, so we're nearly there. Okay, Dean, you ready? One more go. Okay, close the nipple. Now you see there it was good clean fluid coming out. You couldn't see any air bubbles in it. So make sure the nipple's locked off, and Dean can let the lever go and give the brakes pump. And now they should feel a bit firmer, hopefully, if you've gotten the air out.
Okay.
Okay, make sure your nipple's closed off properly. And like, this is the tricky bit. Try not to spill too much fluid as you just try and ease the pipe off. We'll get dropping everywhere. Okay, there you have it. And remember to put the dust cap back on the old bleed nipple, stop the crap getting in there. And just wipe around it with a tissue. A bit of rag if you haven't got any tissue. Now on this particular bike, you've also got bleed nipple at the top here on the master cylinder. Some bikes have them, some bikes don't. Usually makes the job a bit easier if you have got one at the top here. Make sure to keep an eye on that fluid in the reservoir there as well. Like I said before, if that runs out, you've got to start again. Same sort of thing, just crack that open. Now just nip it back again. Now put a bit of weight on the lever, open the nipple, squeeze it in, then hold it in and lock it off. Close the nipple right off. Now again, this will be tricky. Have to get the pipe off without dropping fluid everywhere. This is where you want to be ready with your tissue again. And depending on how lucky you get, that's it. Okay, don't spill too much there. Good tip too, if you do have an accident, which occasionally you do have brake fluid, obviously it's not good for paint. Just have a little bit of water nearby and a rag, so if you do spill any brake fluid, if you hit it with water straight away, it'll get rid of it. So just have a damp rag and just get ready to wipe up any spills as quick as you can. And that'll stop any damage to your paintwork or anything else you spill it on. Remember the dust cap again, this has got one as well. Put that back on the nipple. And last but not least, we've got to top up the fluid in the reservoir here and make sure that's up to the proper level. So you need to take the cap right off. Again, be careful, there's a rubber seal on there which always hangs a bit of brake fluid. Always keep that clean and out the way. And we just need to top the reservoir up now and then wipe this and we'll put it all back together. Wipe around the top, just make sure there's no stray fluid basically, it's really hard to keep it tidy. And that's the rubber seal, I've wiped that dry. Put that back in there like that. And then again wipe the inside of the cap. Make sure everything you're using is really clean. And put the cap back on. Just nip that up, not stupid tight, just you'll feel it when it's about right. Okay, and on the Kawasaki here we have an extra little safety screw here which we need to put a little tag on there.
Alright Brucey boy, last tip. How do we lube the chain without making a huge mess?
Okay dude, well just a couple of things I've picked up over the years. Basically grab a rag, soak up the gunge. So grab your rag, if you can spin the rear wheel first, Dino.
Alright mate.
Basically you want to squirt the lube on the inside of the chain, like on the inside of the rollers, not the outside. It'll get to the outside easy enough on its own when the chain's flying around at 100 mile an hour. And I always just hold a rag underneath where I'm about to squirt so that any overspray is caught and doesn't get all over your tyre or your shock. So you can give it a spin now, Dino, and we'll hit out some lube. There's no need to go too wild with the chain lube because most modern O-ring chains, they're all sealed with lube inside. You're only lubricating the rollers on the outside and the sprocket teeth. So just enough to, so you can see it on there. And if you can give the chain a good 15 minutes just to give the chain lube a chance to set before you go out for your ride, it helps a lot. It might stay on the chain then.